There we go. Now I should have audio. All right, what's up, guys? Hope you guys had a great weekend so far, and hope you guys had a great trading week as well. So, I see we got some questions already in the chat. That's good. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. If you don't know who I am, my name is Rokai. I am a futures and forex trader, and I specialize with price action strategies. And I also specialize in analyzing different markets, particularly traditional markets, but I can apply my analysis to most markets. So I hope you guys are ready for today's stream session. We're going to be running for about an hour or so. So we're going to go ahead and try and get to any questions or requests that we have in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions that you feel it's too dumb, don't feel like that, just go ahead and ask it and we'll go ahead and answer it to the best of our abilities. Just so the fact that, if you're curious about something, you should have the answer to it. So first question of the day here, we have any thoughts on EGLT? Now, I'm not too familiar with the ticker EGLT, so that does sound like a crypto. Elrond, okay. So EGLT. Or is it EGLD? Also seeking to learn TAs, so many platforms teaching. And James, is this the correct what do you call it? Crypto that you want me to look at? Just to make sure that we're looking at the same thing here, unless you're talking about a stock. So we want to make sure that we're looking at the same thing here. So while I wait for James to clarify that this is correct crypto, I'm going to go ahead and just look through the other questions here. Okay, awesome. What indicators, patterns, time frames do you find most reliable for swing trades? If you're looking to swing trade, the higher time frame always matters because that's the big picture that you're looking at. So if you're looking at swinging a trade over a course of like several weeks, there's no point of you looking at the 5-minute, 15-minute, or hourly chart. You want to rely on what's happening on the bigger time frames because that's what's developing on the big picture. How do you determine price targets and stop losses for a trade? That pretty much kind of goes into the type of strategy that you trade with. Is it all right to close trades on a loss if I bought them on spot, as I do feel that the number one rule to investing is to not lose money? It is okay to close trades with a loss because you're not always going to be in a winning trade. I will tell you that right now. There's no perfect trader out there. I mean, yes, there's 90% win rate traders, but they're not always going to be consistently having 90% win rates. Some weeks they're going to have 40%, some weeks they'll have 50%. It's okay to cut trades with a loss because for one, you're going to decrease any further possibilities of losing more money. And two, it's better to kind of cut loose with it because in terms of psychology, you're also letting go uh, of your bias, basically. So you're just kind of cutting things loose and moving on to something else and doing something better. Hey Rokai, I love your work and calls since I joined you guys 2 weeks ago and made a lot of my losses. Oh, I hope I read that right. Hold on. I joined you guys 2 weeks ago and made a lot of my losses. I hope that means you made up your losses. As in you got a lot more profit. Okay, so we were looking at EG or Elron Gold. E-Gold Tether, yeah, here we go. This appears to be only on KuCoin. Okay, so he said Elron E Gold. Yeah, this is the only Elron E Gold there is on the trading view right now. And it doesn't appear to be a new or old thing. This kind of came out like what 4 days ago. So it came out this week. Let's see. Go ahead and mark out my main targets here. I'm gonna make sure that they're applying same ways. Okay, we got the low over there. So this is where price opened up here on the 14th. We opened up to around $246. From there, we made a high, and since then, price slowly sold off. You can see price here is trying to hold off from moving lower, because if you were to flip where price initially opened up on any asset, that would signify that you're in a downtrend. In this instance, that's exactly what we did here. So price tried to make a new high again. We're not able to do that. So price was not able to continue to make a new high. So we made a new low over here. And since then, price has been making some attempts to get back at that spot, but we're continuing to decline lower. So main thing I'm looking at here right now is that since the spot that we're in right now is from here to here, and we've made this kind of move here, it's possible that we can get a recovery, but we would have to get back above $270 to really do that. Because for one, if you notice, price here has acted initially as a support over here on the 2-hour chart, and as we moved on, price began to reject it as a resistance, as you can see over here. Price again comes back over here and acts as a resistance. So if price were to try to recover, it will need to ultimately get back above 270 and make a new all-time high from there. Otherwise, if we fail to come back above there, we could reject from there and ultimately make a new low, getting back below 225. All right, we got some other questions here. Just came in, Rokai, what's your reading on Bitcoin chart from the influence of the S&P? I'll tell you right now that the S&P does not influence the Bitcoin charts or any crypto for that matter. If using your strategy, how would you determine stop losses and targets? I just rely based on supports and resistance that are nearby. Uh, could you give your thoughts on the UO or someone asked for mana? We'll look at mana after we go through the other requests here. Could you give your thoughts on the UOS chart? Of course, I'll look at it after the others. What rules do you recommend trading futures? Keep your risks at a good minimum. Don't try to over leverage and don't put in so much volume on one trade that you have low on margin. So make sure you have a decent amount of capital as well. On top of that, keep an eye on it because futures is called futures for a reason. You're trying to trade and predict the future at the same time. So you got to keep your eye on the trade at all times. It's not something you just, you know, press once, you press buy and then you let it go. No, you got to keep looking at it. And on top of that, you also asked for what scalp trading is. Scalp trading is basically just kind of trading very small movements in the trend. You're not really holding on to it. It's probably lasting maybe about an hour maximum. But you're basically just looking to, for example, if you're trading, Elron E Gold on like the 5-minute chart, and you're looking to continue to hop into the downtrend, you would basically just kind of go short or where it is right now and hope that it completes the movement within that trend. So you're basically just getting the smaller trend in the big trend, inside of the big trend rather. Do a read on XYO and ENT, please. Of course, we'll look at that afterwards, after all the other requests. Can you give us a view on your on stocks markets, on Nasdaq and S&P? Yeah, of course. Those are my main markets to begin with. That's literally what I trade every day. Do you use Fibonacci? I started off with it, but then I no longer use it. So what's your opinion on Pablo said S&P could correct 5 to 10%? That could also pull crypto down. Um, and if anything, personally, I don't think that Bitcoin or any crypto for that matter is influenced by the S&P. Because if you were just to pull up like a regular comparison chart, like we'll do that right now actually. Is it compare? Yeah, there we go. Compare, and let's say we'll do the S&P, right? So S&P is called ES on the CME on futures markets. Let me readjust this. Compare ES new price scale. All right. So if we were to directly compare these two charts, right? I'm going a higher time frame. The S&P have, of course, it's been on here a lot longer than most assets. It's it's one of the oldest assets you can trade because it's literally like a culmination of 500 different stocks on an index. Now, of course, there are moments in the cyclical market phases that may line up together depending on the market environment. So, of course, if we were to look at this together, we have huge amounts of dips over here in the beginning where it didn't matter to Bitcoin because at the time Bitcoin was still developing. But the stock market is infinitely pretty much in a full-on bull run for most of its lifetime. So when we start looking at the chart more and more, we can begin to see areas where price begins to kind of sync up together, but in terms of the market phases. Now, that doesn't directly mean that the index is direct crypto in terms of directly influencing it, but it's more rather a culmination of different market psychology kind of lining up together at the same time, and they're kind of taking up this, the same market mindset around that same time. So it doesn't directly mean that it influences. It's more so the fact that when you reach the same cycle on a very big asset, you're likely going to see the same moves across the board. So of course, again, 2018, that's when Bitcoin hit its first all-time high or major all-time high to begin with, and then from there we got that market crash. I remember trading throughout 2019. End of 2019. This is when or end of 2018, excuse me. I forgot what happened around there, but I do remember the end. No. This is when uh, former President Trump announced the Chinese trade war over here. But if you were to look at it in terms of how market crashes, Bitcoin over here was already crashing at the end of 2017. So this move over here was just a continuation where it landed into support over here. You can see price going sideways from there. And then we kind of restarted our bull run. Price kept going up and up. This is our COVID over here. COVID drop. And again, price over here, if you're looking at it in a technical sense on Bitcoin, I'm just going to hide this real quick. Bitcoin was just moving sideways pretty much throughout from the end of 2017 all the way through the end of 2020. So market was already moving sideways to begin with. Here on the S&P, if you're just trying to look at it in terms of movement, market crash over here, Bitcoin was already just kind of moving sideways. So if it was to crash, it was because price could not make a new high. And if you're to look at that objectively, over here you have your high. So price came back, made a pull back higher, failed to make a new high relative to this area over here, around June through September. Again, price did that in 2020. You got a rise into the middle of February. Price failed to hold that new high, so we got the market drop. Over here, price kept moving higher and higher, as everyone knows, and that's been the same thing ever since. And if anything, nothing happened on this big move over here for the 60Ks on this huge drop into 30Ks in relation to S&P. So there's not really much you can say about price influencing or the price of the S&P 500 influencing Bitcoin or just crypto in general. So that's just one thing. That's my opinion on it. I don't believe that the S&P really does anything to crypto. It's just more so that they line up during major market cycles throughout the its lifetime. Some other questions here. How do you read the volume of stocks or cryptos to know if it's good or not? Thank you. When you're reading just how liquid it is, just pull up any time frame, and if it's taking too long to move, then it's not worth trading, basically. So let's pull up a different. Okay, let's actually over here. Elrond's a really good example, actually. 5 minute time frame on Elrond. We're looking at it right now. If you're looking at price going from 246 to 270 within 5 minutes and then immediately selling off, and then the time before that it takes more than an hour just to move you know several dollars across several hours, it's not a good trade, or it's not a great asset to be looking into to try to scalp or day trade. Same thing over here. When it started off, you got your first open at around 246, and it immediately goes to 291. From there it takes about, what was that, 2.5 hours to make a new all-time high, and it keeps selling off uh very heavily in between, and then from there on, in between those major movements, you're seeing price just kind of dwindling around, so you're not getting a lot of volume to begin with. So if you're looking at just the volume alone, notice how inconsistent the volume is throughout here. Now, of course, you have those time where some news headline drops or there's some new development, so of course you can get a lot more volume. But what you're mainly looking for when you're looking at volume and trying to trade with volume is looking for something that has consistency with it. So if you're pulling up something that has consistency, obviously Bitcoin is going to be one of those assets that contain with those consistencies. So across the board here, like, excuse me, where you're not looking at the major times of trading. So like, for example, 8 a.m. is a pretty, it's as the or at least my time, 8 a.m. is when New York opens for trading. So of course that's when you're going to start off with the most volume. But throughout the rest of the day, if you have the same amount of volume that increases in size, then you have an asset that has consistent liquidity, and that allows you to trade much more often on a much more consistent basis, and therefore you have the possibility of having more consistent profits. Same thing on something like forex. So if you're looking at the US euro US dollar, right, this has tons of volume. This is a $1 trillion like minimum $1 trillion market, where banks are literally trading with each other to exchange different currencies. So of course, with that amount of money and volume flowing through it every single weekday, you have a lot of chances and areas to catch onto a trade. Same thing with stocks. Go to Apple, right? Apple, consistent large volume every single day. You're not gonna have a chance where you're gonna get slipped on a trade, until it's like after hours or pre-market. But of course, if you're day trading it, you're gonna see a lot of volume throughout the entire day. So it's really looking at in relation to how are the candles moving, and on top of that, are the moves consistent with the amount of volume flowing through it? If you're just looking at the volume ticks alone. If you look at something like crypto, you have tons of areas where there's price inflecting, and in between those inflections, there's little to nothing supporting the movements here. So you have, like, for example, this huge move to the upside where price pulls back. So this goes from $246 to $266. You have a $20 jump, and in between each candle here, there's little to nothing pushing this. There's just huge amounts of areas, or not huge amounts. There's just minor amounts of areas where price picks up a lot in volume and pushes it higher, because there's no opposing side to this trend here in terms of volume. So there's nothing stopping this from selling up until we get to this point where price stopped. getting bought up, and therefore when you start slowly selling that off, it begins to decline even further. All right, some other questions here. We're gonna get started on those other requests soon as well. Um, Doge, of course, we'll look at that after we look at all the other stuff. So what's your opinion on the halving at the end of the year? Do you predict it will fall hard again? I don't, every time there's a mention of the halving, and I've been looking at Bitcoin since like 2017, 2018, the halving does nothing. It really does nothing at all. I think it's just one of those headlines that, that allows traders for them to cope with something when, something goes awry, but are looking for some exciting movement. But really, the happening for the past like 6, 7, or like most of Bitcoin's major lifetime, it has done nothing uh to apply a huge market move. Like it does nothing at all in my, like, from what I've seen so far. Okay, give me 1 second here. All right, sorry about that, guys. From AKAKs, would you pick any stock and show a proper set of your TA, specifically support and resistance levels using diagonal and horizontal trend lines? I've done that before, but I'll do it again. Looking to see how you might be able to pick up support resistance on daily, hours, hourly, and minute time frames. Keep in mind this is for day trading, 5 minute to 2 hour windows. We can just do that again. I did it last week as well. So what caused the fall on December 2013 and 2017? Do you believe in the 4-year cycle? I don't believe in the 4-year cycle or any of that. To me, that's just kind of similar to like people not applying proper technical analysis. They're just slapping some numbers on that have numerical values that are even or odds, and that have a history of making different patterns that line up coincidentally. They're not looking at the sense of how the market actually functions. If you were to study the actual market on how it functions, in a way it moves mechanically, and like we were talking about how algorithm trades or how just traders trade in general or just how the overall market functions, if you were just to look at that alone, you would understand that when you're trading, right, it is a zero sum uh, market. Whereas if you buy, someone is selling. If you sell, someone is buying that. And that's how spreads exist. And in terms of that, that's how volume builds up as well. So if you're looking alone at 2013 and 2017 jumps, right, or drops, excuse me, just expanding on that idea, here, let me go ahead and pull up a chart that has all that history. I don't think Coinbase had that since then. So if we were to look at, I guess TradingView has it apparently. All right, 2013, right here. Price moves sideways. You finally get above the old high. So you have increasing amounts of demand and hype to buy this asset. You get up here. Price makes a major all-time high for its first time ever. People sell it off because they want to take profits. Where it comes back, it lands itself into a support. Price moves higher as more and more demand and more of this asset gains more popularity. Again, you get the same thing over here. You reach a new all-time high. Price is now $1,200 compared to where it was around 200. You get people selling off because, again, They want to take profits. This is the first time them seeing, something they invested in for a couple of years, finally get into something that gives them money. So people sell off. Price moves sideways again, where you had an all-time high over here becomes the major area where it determines the rest of the trend from here on. So as price keeps progressing, you get this choppier movement as price begins to goes back up, because now people are getting cautious about investing into something that costs around $300 to $400. Now again, around this time, this is a lot of money. If you were to compare it to something else like Apple. So Apple back in 2016 was only around like $30. Bitcoin around in 2016 was around $390. So that's instantly 10 to 12 times the price of what the most popular stock on the market would have been. So of course, when you're investing this much, you're gonna have a lot more staggering movements, as fear of trying to invest and trade in this gets riskier and riskier in terms of the dollar value of it. Is there any TA where you can know it's a good time to take profit? Honestly, not really. It's really more based off of your own intuition and the fact of how experienced are you trading the market. You have to really know when price starts to slow down and it's not going to reach your target. It's also based upon around the time of your trades, what time is the trade closing at, and on top of that, you also have to look around how liquid the asset you're trading is. So, for example, if you're trading Bitcoin, it's probably one of the most liquid cryptos on the market. So, wherever you're going to sell, you're going to get that price for selling it. But if you're trading something that's an altcoin that doesn't receive a lot of attention, you're likely not going to get the price you want to sell it at. So, that's an issue with how stop losses and TPs work in that sense if you're trying to day trade, because there's assets out there that just don't have enough volume to support you trading that style. Which do you think is more profitable, value investing or trading? It really depends. Honestly, it's preferential, if anything. And it's also dependent on your mindset. I know a trader, personally, he's a friend of mine. He trades the NASDAQ only, and he makes thousands of dollars per week. If I ask him to swing trade something, he's not going to be able to do it, because that's not him. That's not how he trades. It's not his style. He does a lot better consistently with day trading markets like the NASDAQ. And based off of that, with his experience trading it, he gets a lot more money. Now, he's probably one of the more wealthier traders that I personally know. The reason I'm asking is because setting SR on different time frames vary in price. For example, horizontal support and 3-minute difference from hourly and doesn't become resistance on an uptrend. Thank you. When you're looking at something in terms of scalping, you always want to rely on bigger time frame uh bigger time frame support and resistances, because those matter much more than, of course, something on the 5-minute. Show some examples where you can easily find a reversal of a trend using some indicator. Again, I don't use indicators. I'm purely a price action trader. Do you have any copy trading profile, Rokai? No, I do not, but I am currently with FTMO on their evaluation program. So I've passed their challenge already with FTMO. That's closest thing to technical copy trading profile, but I don't have a public copy trading profile. Okay, back to the chart. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing requests here because we are running up on time a little bit. So someone much earlier asked for Bitcoin in general, so we'll go ahead and just get that out of the way. Where is Bitcoin moving at the current moment? So where we are on the weekly, price here reversed within the past 2 weeks, but that reversal didn't really do much to the downside. If we go over to the daily over here, we can see the price after the initial drop on the 7th of September, we really hit into a area of support over here from back towards the left around August, and we're kind of just consolidating since there. Go over to the 8 hour, we can see price is trying to climb higher, but we're getting a lot more difficulty as volume declines in that sense, and price is consistently um, getting slowly sold within this area as price begins to move up. Go to the 4 hour, we can see that more evidently. It's a little bit more detailed, and it's more likely we're going to see the same action happen over here, where price is slowly, gaining towards the upside, and then you hit a resistance over here. Price falls, and it's likely going to same. We're going to probably see the same thing happen over here if it approaches around this area. So this is, I'm going to remove that. We're probably going to see a reaction around 51K, and of course, if price were to immediately gain above that, we can probably see a new all-time high being made. Excuse me, I have a stuffy nose going on here. I don't know why. But price over here is getting slower and slower as it keeps moving higher. And that really shows a lot of opposing orders as price begins to move up. And you can just look towards the left and you can see the same exact thing happen. So again, price is slowly moving up. You get some periods where price, immediately gets bigger in terms of how fast it moves, but it keeps moving more and more sideways as it struggles to continue to move higher. And it eventually reaches to the point where price just reverses after hitting into a resistance. Okay, we got some other questions here. How do you trade with price action? Price action trading is just based upon, I mean, there's different styles of price action trading. There's supply and demand. That's one of the more popular ones I know. Support and resistance is really traditional and classic. So you would, again, you buy at support, you sell at resistance, because support is where price is being supported up from moving any lower, and resistance is where price is resisting to move any higher. So that's just like a really simple way to explain that. What platform do you recommend to trade stocks? I don't trade stocks anymore, but when I was trading stocks prior, I was using Webull and TD Ameritrade. But I don't really have a platform to recommend anymore because I'm not within that market. I'm just trading futures now, which is a completely different market that's associated with the stock market, but it's a completely different asset. All right, some other assets that we're gonna have to look at here. So yeah, my consistent right now for Bitcoin is if it continues to struggle to move any higher, and we get around back to 50K, we're probably gonna see a reaction where price reverses there. But if not, and if we see it like a 4 hour or even a daily candle close back above, like around 52K, we can probably see price continuing to move higher. Of course, we're gonna get some struggle around this area over here too, around the mid 50,000s. But of course, that's totally going to rely on how fast Bitcoin can move. Some other assets that were requested here. Where is it? We had Mana. So Mana, USD, Tether, I guess. Of course, we always start on a higher time frame, and for those that requested for me to do analysis or TA, this is your chance of me or of you looking at how I do stuff. So I always start from the higher time frames. Of course, this is not an old enough asset to get any actual detail out of it, but of course, at least the monthly has some candles for us to work with. So price over here opened up at $1.01. Made a new all-time over here. You can already see that the opening is acting as a resistance over here. Weekly. So you had some consolidation. So you had very low volume, I guess, from over here. Price drops. We're now back below it. Okay. This is our lowest point over here right now. This thing's very illiquid. It does not move very hard. So again, you have the very choppy move to the upside where it takes a really long time to get back up. It rejects it where price initially opened up as an asset, and now price rejected over here. Now we have this huge drop off. Price is moving sideways. So over here within this period, right? So we're looking at the low of this candle and the high over here. If price were to break out, it would ultimately need to be very fast, and it needs to close above $1 on the monthly time frame. Because if we were looking at the monthly time frame right now, you can see that the wicks here, we're not able to close above $1.01 in order to continue to move the trend back higher. Because we're currently still in a downtrend at the moment, considering we're below where price was IPO'd. Do you have a favorite crypto for trading? I do not. My favorite assets are the NASDAQ and Euro US dollar. Crypto is not something I really enjoy trading personally. I see it more as an asset to invest in, but for trading, it's not really great for trading. So moving back lower over here, let's take a look at the 4-hour sideways movement. If we move back lower and we break this low over here, pretty much breaking that, and that's like around 72 cents. Breaking that will submit price to moving much lower. And just based off like something on the daily over here, let's look at this. We got price already testing different areas of liquidity. So we're likely going to see price come back to around over here. And this is extending from when price acted as a resistance and a support around this area over here. And this is likely stemming from a lower time frame support. Yep, over here. So if price breaks 72 cents, we're likely going to see it at closest go into 60 cents. Any opinions on ETH? It's definitely in a bull run right now. I don't see it really doing anything major anytime soon, honestly, though. Not up until Stake of Proof comes out. But the way the NFT market's popping off at the moment, gas fees are insane. Like I was actually trying to buy a NFT yesterday. I think it was 0.06. The developer said that the gas fee was only going to be 0.02. But MetaMask for me said it was 5 Ethereum for gas fees. So I did not end up buying that at all. I just pick up that 60-cent support. And again, I was on a higher time frame. I was looking at I think the daily. Zoom in closer. And if you look at the wicks here, where price is moving lower, you can see that price here starts to utilize this area within the wicks as areas to bounce off of, and then when it moves under it, it acts as a resistance of sorts. So for me, for that area, I begin to cycle down lower on a different time frame, and we can see this is an area where price V-shapes a lot as well. So let me get ahead and rid of those drawings real quick. If you move over to the 4-hour and such, it's a little bit more evident of how this functions. Price over here utilizes this area as a platform to move higher, move forward, an area where price uses it to kind of flip the trend So this could have been a hard support, but price flipped that area and used it to determine a level to move down lower on the trend. Come back up. You got your resistance, resistance. Flip that again. Price becomes support again. Support. Fail to make a new high. You come back down. Support again. You fail to make a new high. Come back down. Support again. Fail to make another new high. You break that. Move back down lower. Look where you ended up over here. So this is another support, but it's very minor, so it's not important to look at. Coming back up again. Price becomes support. And you finally break a new high over here. Right? You finally break that new high. Price moves sideways because this receives little to no volume. And you begin to move back higher. So that's how I determine 60 cents to be a level of support. Yeah, in a sense, you can determine it as a mid-range, but when you're looking at it in terms of major levels, this is stemmed off of the daily, and it shows itself on the daily as well. So it's likely going to be an area when price reapproaches that area to be either a level of support, or B, a level for price to flip and use that to move lower in terms of the trend if it were to break it. All right, some other questions here. Oh yeah, and mana. So yeah, so my opinion on mana here. If you don't make a new high sooner or later on a higher time frame, preferably the monthly, this is likely going to see it going lower. Some other requests. Someone said UOS. This is worth 70 cents right now. There has to be another like that thing, right? Oh boy. Okay. So this is new. Relatively new. All right. So let's get that out of the way. So price here is still on a higher, it's still moving up. So it's in an uptrend, obviously. See, price over here, all-time high acted as support. You didn't really get the same thing over here, though. This is our current all-time high right here. Weekly. Wait, what did I draw there? Oh, that was a mistake drawing. Weekly. Roughly being acted as support, but this does not see a lot of volume. You have days where it moves sort of majorly, but in the scale of things, this does not move very much. And that will work for day trade. It will work for day trade in the sense that you know something major is coming into your face when it approaches that area. And that's very important to remember. Because when you're day trading, you're trading the short-term trend that is building towards the higher time frame trend. Everything matters. So if you're just comparing trends on different time frames, the daily matters much more than what happens on the 8-hour. The 8-hour is more important than the 4-hour. 4 hours is more important than 2-hour. 1 hour is more important than a 30-minute. Different time frames, and typically the bigger it is, the more important it is. So if you're looking at the quarterly time frame, it's going to matter much more than what's happening on the monthly. So again, daily time frame over here, price is slowing down. Over on the weekly, we saw last week we got that huge reversal over here. Price is moving back towards a support where price is being provided that from the previous all-time high over here, or the previous swing rather, to the high in March. It does have access of areas for it to come back into. So you kind of have around this 47 cents-ish area. Now, again, this is crypto, and it's not a very clean asset to begin with. So roughly around this area, you're going to find price trying to hold on to around the 50 cents area. If not, then price is probably going to come back into this 21 cent area if it were to fail that. So you got to see a bounce from there or here where it is right now, or it breaks this and comes back into 21 cents. So where it is right now in the higher time frames, UOS is not looking too great to invest in for the long term at the moment. Not unless it gets back above 84 cents, because this is also an area where price was determined as not only resistance but as support as well. So this is kind of like the again the little mid-range area, but this is not a very clean crypto to begin with. It plays very dirtily. All right, some other assets here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just start rushing through these a little bit. So we got XYO. This is very new. Daily, this is your all-time high over here. So price has made two movements so far. The move to the high and this current move to the low. But we're still above our initial price offering. So as long as we hold off from moving below there, we could potentially see another high. But it needs to close above what is that? 4 cents. 4.04. This is why I hate crypto at times. 0.4 or 0.5 in order to get above that. So it needs to get above there in order to try to make a new all-time high. Go to the 4-hour. Yeah, that's definitely a spot where you need to make a new all-time high. Otherwise, if price here fails, it's probably going to come back into 2 cents, and if it fails that, it's going to move much lower, and you're going to have that situation where most altcoins are at. ENT USD, that's not showing up. Is that a actual crypto? ENT, it appears not to be. I'm gonna move on to the next. Someone asked for Doge as well. Doge USD. Complete joke to me, but we'll look at it anyways. Doge, this is not that accurate. Okay, this is from last week. So this is also on the 4-hour, but basically, daily, we failed to make a new high. Price need to get back above 33 cents in order to move higher. Failed to do that. This is an area of support. Price flipped under that, and we're now consolidating. If price fails to make a new high from here, and it still needs to go back above 33 cents, if it fails to do that, and if it does that, it's likely going to come back below 18 cents and begin to descend down further. Some other assets here. All these coins probably recommended by some YouTube influencer. Yeah, likely. That's most likely a thing. And it's really unfortunate that people get caught in that. It's kind of like it's really a scam, to be honest, in my opinion. Like if you're trying to get into an altcoin that has like no decent groundwork and it has no decent volume just for trading alone, you're probably gonna get your pockets ran. Someone asked for Shiba Inu. Wow, this did not live long enough to see a good day. There has to be a different feed, right? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. What is FTX? Oh, yikes. Okay, so, well, Shiba opened up over here. Now again, we're gonna counter swings. 1, 2. That second movement immediately put it into a downtrend. And now we're moving sideways. So price here has been sideways since May. That's a really long time to be in the red. 4-hour chart. This is kind of the move that sent us down over here in the 4-hour. It's also acted as a resistance / support. So Shiba on a 4-hour time frame at least needs to not only get back above whatever number that is, but it also needs to get back above this in order to at least minimum try to get above this. Now this could fail at any given point. What's the volume on this? Little to nothing. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's only just recently, like literally the day, like 2 days ago, it started getting some volume. But this sees nothing in it. There's no active volume on here. It's very illiquid. Okay, someone also asked for Ethereum. We'll use the Binance feed for this. If I can find it. Actually, we'll use the official CME exchange for this. CME futures. Because this matters much more now. Monthly. Okay, so Ethereum, obviously we're still in a huge uptrend. Yeah, I'm gonna get a different chart for you guys actually. Ethereum. The volume spike is being listed on Coinbase. Well, that doesn't help it at all. Even if you get listed on the Coinbase, you're not gonna, that's not a guaranteed notion for immediate profits. Hell, there's still assets on Coinbase that's been there from the beginning that's still in a downtrend. Okay, but here, Ethereum still looks pretty good. We're still ultimately in a huge uptrend. It's in a similar spot to how Bitcoin is. But to where it is right now, we got the weekly over here. Price is trying to fight off this kind of reversal area here, where price reversed at the same area. So this potentially could play out as a double top. But if price were to fall down to where it is right now on the weekly, you still have this area of support from below at around 2000 to the 1800s or 1700s that could supply it more buying. Ooh, my nose is very stuffy today for some reason, but it can supply more buying interest and volume around this area for price to spike back up. Again, if you fail this area, fail to hold it, you're looking at price moving back down lower. Not that majorly, but you're definitely looking at for price to dip at least at the minimum and come back into like around 680s. That's pulling off from here. Or at the very least, get a bounce off from a little bit lower. We're talking about like wicks. Like you're getting these, a sudden movement into the area and it just reverses immediately. And you get little to no time to hop back into the trade. But basically, with how it is right now, Ethereum's seeing the same movement as how Bitcoin is, where price is moving sideways after hitting a resistance. You get that drop, move sideways. Of course, it's sitting at a support basically. It's a very rough support. But given that if it were to fall below this $3,000 area roughly, you're going to see price move back down lower. Now, of course, it could reverse based off of any area around here, but it's more likely going to see a price dip into back the 2000s if it were to fail to hold around the $3,000 area. So, in my opinion, it's still looking pretty good, but it desperately does need to make a new all-time high. Ultimately, I think on like the monthly time frame, in order to keep moving that trend along higher. Because where it is right now at the month, we're like in the middle of September right now, and it's looking like a wick. Like it's literally a wick at the moment. If this goes into a doji, this is a possible reversal, and we're probably going to see price next month come back into like the 2000s. Like that, it's not out of the question, quite honestly. But where it is right now, it does need to do that in order to keep upholding this bull run that it's in right now. Okay. Any other questions? Everyone got the answer they needed to hear or wanted to hear. Of course, we're gonna end the stream here in a couple minutes as well. So if there's any other questions or any other requests, please go ahead and ask them now. Yeah, thank you guys for hopping onto the stream. I always enjoy it when people come on, spend some time with me. But of course, it's the weekend, so you guys probably have something to do. So I don't want to hold you guys' time. So if there's no other questions or anything like that, I just want to thank you guys again for coming onto the stream and spending your time here. Of course, I'm here every week, and I'm also kind of available throughout the weekdays. So if you have any questions, feel free to at me in the server. Don't try to do it through my DMs because I get spammed through there, and I have it turned off now. But otherwise, thank you guys for coming on. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.